Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Bringing it to you rapid fire. Donald Trump doubles down on Bloodbath, which is an interesting thing in one of his rallies. We saw the P.Diddy raid. We've got some footage of that with full military tactical gear, pointing weapons at young people's heads, and just kind of crazy. We'll talk about that. We've got a declaration signed by the governor of Wisconsin, of course, vetoing the protection of women's sports by allowing transgender guys to participate. We've got a lot of we've got a fried chicken chain claims criticism because they're black. And then also Peter Doocy goes after Jean-Claude Van Damme Pierre. And then a squatter, a guy figures out a way to do it to have his mother lease the property to him, and then he goes in and lives with the squatters. It's an interesting story. We're going to cover all of it. This is a recorded show that's going to feel like a live show, and I think this is the way we're going to start doing it, is have the morning recorded show feel like a little bit like the live PM show. It's going to be a little bit faster paced. I hope you like it. We'll be right back in 15 seconds.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more f***ed up than the lies on the evening news? Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree.
Still Point, STIILPOINT, the Don't Unfriend Me band. Most people know that wonderful, wonderful music. This is the mass media Do Not Drink Poison shirt. You can get it to thedumshow.com. Head on over there. Let's get to it. Donald Trump went ahead and took to the stage. Now, this is an interesting thing. He went ahead and said that the border was an absolute bloodbath. So he's doubling down on the bloodbath thing, and that's triggering lefties all over the place. But one of the interesting things is he's challenging Joe Biden to a debate now. Fairly clever, considering he stayed out of the primary debates, but this is a little bit different. This is the national election. This is for all the marbles, and Trump is calling out Biden early and often. Listen to this.
We have an empty podium right here to my right. You know what that is? That's for Joe Biden. I'm trying to get him to debate. I'm calling on Crooked Joe to debate anytime, any place. We'll do it anywhere you want, Joe, so that we can discuss in a friendly manner the real problems of our country, of which there are many, instead of trying to have corrupt prosecutors fight your battles for you.
Oh,
we have an...
That's a right cross, right across the chin. I don't think Corn Pop even saw it coming. So the argument is, well, Donald Trump didn't get involved in the debates when, he was leading all the polls. Well, he's leading the polls now, and now he's calling out Joe Biden. We have to take a look at, the two swing states, Michigan and Wisconsin, which there is a little bit of softness compared to the rest of the swing states. But 6 out of 7 of the swing states are going Trump's way right now. And you'll have to imagine that will continue until the race tightens. But calling out Biden for the debates is what people expect with a presidential debate. I don't think anyone really cares about the primaries. So this is definitely a score for Trump in the win column. We'll see what Biden's handlers allow him to do and not to do. There was just a full lid put on his entire press conference for all future events will be nil. He will no longer do press conferences up until the election. He'll be doing spot interviews. He'll be doing, helicopter interviews, and he'll be doing controlled interviews like we saw from the article on news.thedum show in regards to the ESPN ex-host who interviewed Biden and then just outed after she was released from ESPN that the entire thing, 100% of the interview was scripted. I think we're going to hear more of this as these news stations and media outlet and these massive media conglomerations decide to start letting people go. You're going to hear more and more of these testimonials, which I find pretty interesting. Next up, another interesting story. P.Diddy. You guys may have seen me on Deanna's show on Rumble doing this and talking about P.Diddy. It's not something I usually talk about, but when there is tactical gear, you have Department of Homeland Security executing a warrant, that's usually a pretty big sign of problems to come. You have to look at the FBI would usually handle something like this when it comes to sex trafficking. But because DHS is involved and this particular department, this means that it's more of an international thing, which does not bode well for P. Diddy and family. However, the way that they went into his compound or his lair or his mansion or whatever you want to call it, was fairly heavy, double, triple, quadruple stacked guards at the front, sending in full TAC teams, stacked on top of each other, ensuring that drones were used for, small hallway entries, having, red dots lined up on people, lasers lined up on people, having, firearms pointed at younger children and his kids. It's a little excessive. You watch, you tell me what you think. So those are the stacked security that you see when they took them. Then you've got multiple teams coming in, disabling cameras, a drone. I mean, it just looks like they're going after OBL 2.0. Putting these guys up against the wall, having their rifles, at a ready position, a little excessive. At that point, they're in more of a relaxed position. But at this point, if I was them, I wouldn't be having multiple rifles pointed down range, going through small corridors, and at just the risk of having a negligent discharge at this point is not something that they would need. But these guys are gung-ho. They get up for this. They don't get to do this very often. And obviously they're coming out in full force. And they don't do this unless they have something, which is also something to consider. The weight of this, the severity of this, they obviously felt that there may be some sort of pushback or some sort of hostile element. Or it's just what we've seen recently from three-letter agencies, that it's an overreaction. Wearing full masks, TAC gear, body armor, the drone's not necessary. I mean, come on. Having this guy walk forward completely. I mean, they've got him dotted up. You can see it on the back of his shirt. He's got 2 dots on the back of his shirt. A little excessive to me, man. The guy's coming down. His hands are up. He's in a non-offensive position. He's following instruction, and you're afraid of what? That he's going to turn around and he's going to start getting in a firefight? I don't quite understand. I want to see the warrant. I want to see what was on it. I want to see what threats they assessed before they went in. But to me, it looks like a little much. So we will continue to hear this. We know that Diddy has liquidated some of his companies and some of his assets, which is a huge sign that either he is suffering from terminal 4-stage cancer, which is not true, or he's looking to get out of Dodge. We know that his Learjet went down south and flew out of U.S. territory. And right now, we haven't heard a lot more other than this. So this will be continuing to unfold. There are rumors of sex trafficking, drugging children, drugging people, women, males at parties, using bribery in order to advance their career. A lot of bad stuff. So once again, it's all in the allegation phase. None of this has been, vetted in the court of law, but this is the beginning of the process. But I will tell you, DHS showing up is not a good sign for Diddy and company. I wouldn't expect his newest release to be coming out on time. Moving on from there, Libs of TikTok posted a video about Governor of Wisconsin. He vetoed a bill that would protect girls and ban males from female sports. Now, this is an ongoing struggle that we have seen throughout the NCAA, but also you're hearing cries of intramural sports. You're hearing cries of the Olympics, where men are coming in because they can't hack it in their own field, in their own category. So therefore, they claim to be a woman and they jump over to the female side and dominate in these sports. Here is the bill signing for your pleasure.
When you veto something, you don't date it, you don't do anything, you just put not approved on the line. And we have now helped our kids, our trans kids. Thanks, everyone.
Wow, thanks for helping our trans kids. What's interesting is all of those women behind you, or the transgender transitioned males who think they're female, or the person who looks like they're wearing Catholic garb in a ceremonial position reserved for men. I'm not sure about all of that, but what I'll tell you is that you're literally hearing women applaud having less rights. We hear this all the time. Well, you took away abortion from us. It's a right. Well, that was never a right. You never had a right to murder children. In fact, all you did was have a bunch of white men in the 60s slap it onto the 14th Amendment, and it stood unconstitutionally on the 14th Amendment, while 67 million babies were aborted. It was never a right. And going back to the states was the right thing. But it's interesting, with all the push for feminism, with all the push for equality, women and men have done more to damage the advancements in suffrage and equal pay, and considering that women have just as many rights as men, if not more. It baffles me that more damage has been done to women, to their individual rights, and they don't even realize they're doing it. You know, it takes a lot more than putting on lipstick and throwing on a dress to be a woman. And the hardships and the trials and tribulations that women have to go through cannot be summed up with a tube of Maybelline and a clever little dress from Target or Neiman Marcus or wherever it may be. There is a substance lacking. And let's face it, you can make up any story you want. You can talk about gender dysphoria. You can talk about you were born this way, but what it comes down to is it really is only a matter of two things, men and women. And the distinctions between the two do not relegate some sort of right to play in a sport because you can't hack it with the overall sex and gender that you were assigned at birth. And whether you like that or not, that is the truth. The moment you came out, you're either male or female. And I understand there's abnormalities. I understand there are nuance in science, and there's things that aren't necessarily consistent, but you look at the overall numbers, that is a small scintilla, and abnormalities happen in nature all the time, and those people deserve all the opportunity to be whomever they want, but what you don't get to do is pretend you're something that you're not just because you can't hack it in a sport and you don't have the talent to do well. Sorry, that is the way of the land. You don't get everything that you want. Moving on from there, we've got another, yes, let's applaud the freedom of women and the identity of women being absolutely trounced by legislation. This is from Libs of TikTok. This is a manager of a fried chicken chain. He claims criticism of his restaurant is racist. He says the only reason they got customer complaints is because they're not the other color. It's not possible that your chicken is bad. Let's find out. It could be. Or possibly, maybe it is racist. Let's find out.
What was supposed to be a positive development in the heart of Huntington has turned into controversy after accusations of racism and discrimination went viral on social media.
We're talking about Crispy's Chicken. It's the restaurant owned by NFL Hall of Famer Randy Moss. But as 13 News reporter Jordan Meade tells us, the manager of the restaurant says the community isn't supporting the business. And
so Randy Moss, a multi-millionaire, an American success story, played for the Minnesota Vikings, played for the New England Patriots, was considered one of the most prominent receivers that were so very hard to cover because of his ability, for his leaping ability to get up and get just about any catch that was within range, made him a Pro Bowler and a extremely successful receiver in the NFL and a multimillionaire, owns this restaurant. And then the manager there is complaining. Interesting to hear what he has to say.
Claims it has nothing to do with the food.
The original video.
Great energy, great food. You know, Randy Moss took his time out, invested his money.
That sparked it all.
But since we've been here for the past few months, it has been nothing but negativity from the community not supporting.
That's the manager of Crispy's Chicken, a fast food restaurant in Huntington. In the video posted just last week, I'm
interested, when you spell Crispy's incorrectly, why even use the C? Why not use a K? Maybe because Krispy Kreme's donut, it looks like Cripsies, right? You know, so and honestly, I don't know if that screams chicken restaurant to me. I understand it. It somewhat looks like an egg with a faux hawk, and it looks like a bomb coming out. I understand it's a chicken. I see the beak now. I guess I get it. But to me, as a marketer, I want a clear indication that that is chicken. You're not KFC. You're not Popeyes. You don't have the brand recognition yet. And from your name, I'm not sure what the hell it is. So that's just me. Driving by, I'm not going to go there. It doesn't sound like something that screams, this is a chicken restaurant, you know? So you could do Crispy's Chicken. You could do El Pollo Crispies. You could do the Crispy Cluckers. I mean, there's other things you could do. to help maybe your brand recognition. But the other thing I would say is that you're not on the prominent side of demonstrating any type of pylons. You don't look like you're in a food area. It looks like there's some parking there, and you're on the outskirts of main traffic area. I mean, the 3 shots that I've seen, it's not very busy. So could it possibly be that you've chosen a poor location to put your restaurant? I mean, I'm just talking from my old retail blood. Those are some of the things that I would ask immediately.
Out at the community, saying their criticism goes beyond the food and service.
The entire community.
I want to see those hours. Hold on. Well, you're open at 6:30 a.m. You're open up at 6:30 a.m. till 9 p.m. for a retail restaurant. What's their breakfast menu look like? 6:30 a.m. is pretty early for a fast food place in a mall location, strip mall location. The traffic isn't going to be there until the residual stores open up. And in most of those more upscale strip mall locations, most things not open until 9 or 10. So you've got 3 hours of dead time. You might get your local business who are opening up their stores come in and get some, a chicken biscuit or some coffee. But do you have enough to sustain? Those 3 hours are a huge pull on your overall revenue for the day. And if you're not putting in proportionate numbers like a lunch or a dinner rush, then you shouldn't be open that early. That's my first thing. I don't find myself going, wow, I'm going to visit Crispy's Not Chicken place before 12 o'clock for a lunch. I'm certainly not going to hit it for breakfast. Now, Chick-fil-A, once again, is a completely different animal because it has brand recognition and it offers an amazing variety of breakfast. But those locations are huge. They're next to grocery stores. They're next to banks. They're next to that tech center style strip mall. They are in prominent locations where people visit 24 hours, 7 days a week.
The entire community is filled with negativity.
Plus you're in West Virginia, right? And so chicken is like everywhere in West Virginia. So it's not like you don't have a ton of competition.
Being an African-American company, this is what we deal with on a regular basis. Unfortunate, we're not the other color, which is unfortunate to you guys, because if we were the other color, I'm sure it would be a lot more.
Do they sell black chickens? I only thought there was white. I don't understand. I'm confused.
Respect.
After the backlash from his post, the manager, who would only tell us his first name, called out a local host of a podcast to do an interview.
We tried to be positive and having a positive effect on the community, but it just wasn't having it.
But from that interview came more controversy.
What did our community do? They tore us down, like they always do. The African-American community, we are known to tear each other down. The Chinese is not known for it. The Europeans, nobody else is known for.
That's something that Talk Huntington host David Williams, who goes by the on-air name of Alligator Jackson, says he tried to de-escalate while addressing complaints. 13 News spoke to Kurt today. He doubled down on his statements.
Anybody that misunderstood what I said on that video.
All right, so on here there's Takira 34, Butter It Up, Tulsi, Wildflower, Fuel Counter, Bottled Up, Austin's, Hip Eagle, and No Beta Barbecue. So you're in predominantly, there's some conservative restaurants in there, especially No Beta Barbecue. You also have plenty of breakfast places and coffee places. Wildflower is one of them. So you're competing on a corner area where most of the food is downrange from you. It looks like you've got some limited parking in the front. You've got what looks to be tolls, so people sit there for 2 hours to 3 hours and put their quarters in and possibly go to the adjacent court building or wherever is over there. So is it accessible with parking? Is it easily accessed? Is there a drive-through? These are things you need to ask before you start playing the race card. And this guy is not going to help. People don't feel comfortable. You think white people feel comfortable? You're in West Virginia. You're going to have to curtail to a different type of audience. And instead of maybe recognizing your limitations and your lack of capability to run a successful restaurant, maybe those are the things you should look at before you start, talking about the race card.
You have to think. It was clear as day what I said. It was clear. It was clear that that's what African Americans been going through for centuries. It's clear.
But the African Americans been failing at chicken restaurants? Like, it's kind of racist, honestly.
know what these people did on that post? They took it and made it a race thing. That's what they.
That late, see, if she was on my podcast, I'd kick her off. Did you see that? She just pulled, she's playing with her foot. She's playing with a cord and just dropped his mic.
They made it a black and white thing. And for me, if you feel like it was a race thing, then in my opinion, it hits your heart. So maybe it is a little bit of racism within yourself. Mm-hmm. Because if it touched you that much, that must be you.
Well, it was supposed to be.
Yeah, Alligator Mike or Alligator Jack. I can't imagine he feels comfortable in that situation. I would love to have them on my podcast. I would challenge their thought process. I would ask them questions. I would ask them what their year over year looks like. I would ask them how they reacted to COVID. Did they shut down? Did they force their customers to wear masks? Did they do social distancing? Did they pull out the patio furniture? Did they ruin their chances of being successful based upon how they reacted or what they followed when it came to government oversight on how their business was run during COVID? I would look at their cost model. I would look at what type of chicken. Is the chicken actually good? Does it taste good? It doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me. Is it original recipe? Is it spicy? Is it Cajun focused? What is it? Is it more of a Southern style chicken? I don't know, because there's nothing that tells me that when it says Krispies. So I don't know. Call me a racist too, but I'm kind of with the customers in that area. I don't get it either. And we'll move on. Next up is Jean-Pierre, Jean-Jean, Jean-Luc Picard. Make it so, number one. Decides to go ahead and get caught yet again by Peter Doocy. Peter knows that Donald Trump has used the word bloodbath. And remember, she stood on the stage and said, bloodbath, what a horrible thing to say, calling for the murder of people and the revolution and these subtle innuendos that they always do on the left, which is somehow listen to one word and forget everything said that preceded that word and anything that was posthumous from that word being used. They go ahead and make a big deal of it. Yet I made a video on this showing all the times that they use bloodbath. And they never, ever, I think it was something like 164 times between the news media and government officials. Nobody made a stink about it. Well, Peter Doocy decides to go ahead and talk about a time that Joe Biden used it, and this is what was said.
Just a quick point of clarification, Karine. So when Donald Trump is talking about a bloodbath, it is violent rhetoric. What was it when Joe Biden said in 2020, what we can't let happen is let this primary become a negative bloodbath?
No, nothing she can do there. You've been tarred, feathered, and quartered. She can't answer the question because, first of all, she doesn't answer any questions. She's the only press secretary besides Jen Psaki who just doesn't answer questions when she is asked. It's always, I'll circle back, or let me be really transparent here without being transparent. The thing is that it's an overreaction. It was a soundbite. It dominated the news. Nobody's going to see this. It's obviously something that I did a show on that pointed out all the idiosyncrasies and all of the subtle innuendo that they left and led the crumb trail for, that Donald Trump is going to overthrow the government and seize democracy, and it was a bloodbath this and it was a bloodbath that. But this has already been filed away. And this is the problem with the media, is they get away with lying because ultimately nobody's going to retract. And when somebody does bring a counterpoint to it, it's already dead space anyway, and everyone's already made up their mind. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump says. He could come out and say the greatest and write the greatest sonnet, the greatest poetic tribute, the most wonderful ballad, and it doesn't matter. It's going to be perceived as dog crap by liberals because that is the only filter they have. Donald Trump can do no right, no matter what he does. But I got to give Peter props for trying. Now, squatters has been in the news. It's been all over the place. Squatters this, squatters that. And of course, do you have a big risk of squatters coming into your home? If you're in your home, no, but there's a lot of rental properties out there and properties that people don't touch or they sublet to so other people. And then those people may move out and it might lay dormant for a short period of time. What happens if a squatter comes in? Well, this is actually an interesting story, about 1 minute, about a son who had his mother lease him the property and then found a way to get the squatters out. I don't know if this is the best way. You're going to have to check local and state law to see if this applies to you, but it sounds pretty good to me. Take a listen and tell me what you think.
ABC's Jacqueline Lee met with Flash Shelton, who calls himself the squatter hunter.
Is it
Flash Skelton? Is that what it was? Flash Skelton, the squatter hunter. That just sounds like, I don't know, like a new Discovery series with, Dog and Beth. God rest her soul, by the way.
growing problem?
I think that it's a growing problem like anything else.
When a squad
I love this guy's branding. See, he's got "Get Out" on his hat, right? And then, you know, the squatter hunter or whatever. So this guy has better branding than Crispy's Chicken or Clucker's Chicken or Chuckles or whatever the hell it was called. This guy understands marketing. Maybe they should call him and he can go work in West Virginia and help that chicken company.
took over his mother's house, Flash had her lease the home to him,
Flash.
and then he moved in with the squatter until they left. He's now using the same tactic at other homes.
I would have had a right as a leaseholder to go in, move in on him, put cameras on, and eventually lock him out, and that I could force him to civilly try to fight to get back into a property that he couldn't prove that he had a legal right to be in.
Experts advise always getting an attorney to navigate legal.
Of course, always spend $10,000 instead of doing the cost-effective way.
Evictions, but warn it can be costly and take several months.
Squatters are looking for an opportunity, and if they think a property is not being maintained or visited, they may make attempts to enter that property that they have no rights to enter in.
ABC's Jacqueline Lee met with.
It's an interesting thing. My parents dabbled in property management and got out of it and just inherited like 9 houses from my grandfather, and they sold them all within a year because just the nightmare of handling rental properties is crazy. This is something that we're going to obviously have to address. This is becoming more and more of a problem with illegal immigration, also drug use like fentanyl, and people being evicted because simply they can't afford to pay these astronomical rents that are happening with inflation and overall property values. It's an interesting conversation, something we will continue to follow on the Don't Unfriend Me show. Folks, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We always try new things. So if this is something you're like, hey, this is a little more relaxed, it's not so well written, it's just Matt firing off and stumbling all over himself. If this is something you enjoy, let me know. Give me some feedback down below. If you think it sucks, and we'll go back to the old way, you can say that too. I would ask you to follow the golden rule, and please be very conscientious of my sensitive feelings. It means so much that one feeling might be damaged. You can find us 7 o'clock live on Spreely.tv, also all social media at The DUM Show. Olivia, myself, Leroy, Amy, we do a live show. It's a little bit more formulated, not so off the cuff like this. Please stop by and do that. And go by news.thedumshow.com to also get your daily news. We do some great articles over there. We're also adding the podcast into that, and we're reading the articles. So if you don't have time to sit down and read 1,200 words, you can listen to it with a soothing voice of myself or Leroy, Amy, or Olivia. Thanks for watching. Stop by thedumshow.com. Make sure to follow, like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock. God bless and have a good day.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.